Welcome back to the Outside Edge podcast brought to you by www.outsideedgecricket.com. It's all happening. Lots of cricket's being played, lots of cricket's being watched, and lots more is going to be taken part in as the summer continues to barrel ever closer in the UK, I should say. First thing we'd like to say, get it out of the way quick, new segment on the pod, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear from the listener and your clubs, UK-based cricket clubs. Well, they don't even have to be UK-based. It just won't be a lot of good shouting about your Aussie club in the winter. But just get in touch with us. We want to host some interviews. We want to hear some stories about what goes on at your club, some of the big names, some of what you've got planned this season, the divisions you're playing in, cult figures, cult heroes, what you get up to in your free time. Showers, maybe not.
Maybe
we want to hear from you, and we want to celebrate UK club cricket as the season approaches.
Yes, we want a few finding stories, a few stories about your cricket club, because we're clubbies at heart, mate, and we want to promote club cricket. I've done Paddy there. I've got him. That's a great
finding
one.
Stories. I've never heard that one. That's brilliant.
I literally came up with it right there on the spot. Yeah, mate. We want to hear from you, the listener, you. Okay, so come to us. We'll share your platform, your club, a shop window sort of gears.
Yeah, dead keen. Finding Dories. Yeah, Trent in midweek. I picked him up before training, and he said, "Yeah, my Mason Crane gets in at 7:50." And had me on the floor, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing, mate? We say that one all the time." I wasn't having it. Anyway, yes, we want you finding Dories. Get them in. Enough said. We'll blow that up on the socials and ram it home, because we want to hear from you. Later on in this podcast, we'll be talking to our very own Oscar Ress, writer for Wisden, the cricketer, bit of outside edge gears as well. He's been on the pod before, but we'll get him back to talk about the Women's Premier League and the IPL round the corner, as well as rounding up that South Africa West Indies tour that's just come to a conclusion. I want to kick off by saying a huge congratulations to remarkable friends of the show, the boys in orange, the Netherlands. They defeated Zimbabwe. Come on. In a ODI the other day, one of three, I should say. Yeah, three match series. Not the best day out for our Maxi. 249 was what they were chasing, and Maxi and Vikramjit Singh didn't have the best opening start. Max O'Dowd 20 off 45, but hey, you'll get him next time. And then Teja Nida Manuru with a bludgeoned 110 not out to win the first ODI, and the last ODI away win that the Netherlands had was in 2014. So big victory for those boys. Congratulations. We'll chat to them very soon. We good to see the Satsumas back in full force.
Was, mate. Wait, who?
The Tangerines.
I've never heard them alive.
The Satsumas. I don't. Yeah, no. I think
very niche.
Yeah, I think we edit that one out.
I just want to say, Paddy, that I'm starting to bleed orange. Normally, mate, I used to say I bleed blue because that's my club back home in Australia, but I'm starting to bleed orange, mate. I think we can call it right now. We're the official podcast of Netherlands cricket.
Yeah.
So now we can take our listeners from 13 to 15, so we can just really hit that market hard. But no, well done, Maxi. Well done, the boys. I've got to actually say a big up to Netherlands cricket. They've come a long way since like 2014, haven't they? Because you look at their World Cup, they've just played. They've got the really good players in. They've got 3 or 4 players playing county champ this year.
Yeah,
they got. Yeah,
we forgot to mention another friend of the show, Buster Leader, for Durham. Looking forward to those gears. A lot of promising talent, and Zimbabwe are a pretty mean outfit at the moment.
Very handy.
So to go up against them, go toe to toe with those Oppo, very handy. And as we've said, we ram home all the time on this podcast. We want associate cricket to be no more. We want it all everyone, all the cricket, all the time. But maybe that'll be a little sooner than we hope. The PSL final took place about 5 days ago, I think. The Lahore Quaylanders, Calanders, don't know how to pronounce it. Not sure I massively care. They managed to retain the win, the tournament, chasing down 199, the Multan Sultans. Shaheen Shah Afridi with one of the most alpha displays of alphadom,
Yes.
I should say. He's only 22. He's just got married. Fair play. He's younger than both of us. He's getting.
Is he 22?
22.
Fuck me.
Yeah, and he bowls heat, I've heard. So yeah, he's gone away. He's got married, and he's come back with, gosh, a little bit of pomp about him. You know, puffing his chest out, peacock feathers. And what he's done is with his team up against it a bit. The par score, I believe, is around 260 in the PSL this year.
Yeah.
The fall of wicket, I think it was about, what did we say? 100 and
it was 112 for 5 after
112
14
for 5
overs.
after 14. I'll get another good associate friend, Sakinder Raza, out for not a lot. David Visa, big man, another associate name, Namibian quick, is due to come in. Shaheen Shah Afridi with his newlywed bombastic energy. Yeah, exactly. Empty balls, but testosterone through the roof. Says, I'll have this one, champ. Sit down, trots down from the changing room. I would like to think that no one else had a say in the matter. Said, I've got this. What does he do? Bludgeons 44 red from 15 rocks, 2 fours, ridiculous. 5 sixes. So yeah, David Visa probably holds his hands up and says, fair play. Trent, have you ever alphaed a teammate like that before?
I've been alpha like that a lot, but I don't think I've ever done that in my life. It reminded me of the Alan Border McDermott thing in the Ashes in like the 80s. That's just alpha, isn't that? Oh my God. Chest out, empty balls. Yeah, mate, sit in the pine. I've got this. We had this conversation before we hopped on about like tail enders becoming better batters now than they were back in the day. Why do you think that is so, in your opinion?
Yeah.
As a tail ender who bats up the order, why tail enders better?
Catching strays. Yeah, such a low blow there, mate. You saw me back last week. I'm nearly there. Yeah, I don't know. As we were saying just before, it's so funny that you don't get anywhere near as many Monty Panesars, Jimmy Andersons, Phil Tufnells, Ashley Giles. Oh, Giles could probably bat a bit, but Glenn McGrath's, you know?
Yeah. Everyone the one from New Zealand. Who is it? Chris Martin. Your timer.
Yeah.
The goat, mate.
Yeah, it's like everyone can sort of bat now, and you don't see anywhere near as many tail ender horror shows that you might have seen in previous years. It's probably just because there's way more money in cricket. People are probably there's now this focus on way more health and nutrition and diet, so it means that people aren't going out chaining fags and going out in the beers like as much as they used to. So maybe they've got more time to train. Fielding is better. The overall standard of cricket has gone up, so it only makes sense that tailenders can bat harder, bat with their empty balls, as Shaheen Shah showed us last week. But I don't know. Yeah, you see far fewer inept tailenders, but then again, the standard of bowling's gone up. Maybe it's because of that.
That's what I think, mate. I think because the bowling's, you see consistently a lot more bowlers are bowling 140, 145 plus. These bowlers are going, hang on, I've got to preserve my body to get out in the park as much as I can to get more money. How do you do that when you're batting? Become better at batting. There's only so much equipment you can wear, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's only one chest guard, isn't there? Yeah. The biggest example I have is Jasprit Bumrah. He has come so far in his batting from where he debuted in international cricket, where he literally couldn't hold the stick, and now he's got a Test 50 to his name. So, it's and roundabouts.
It's not that hard, Trent. I've heard.
Yeah. So why are we struggling so much?
Me, don't get me started. Moving on. Another thing I noticed this week: Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, English heroes in the footballing world. I'm more of a footy fan than you are. Footy means something completely different to you. But they face up against Stuart Broad for Sky Sports, and hell, decent shapes on the lads. Gary Neville used to
shapes.
play quite a lot. Yeah, he
Yeah,
played
okay.
his cricket club growing up, and then Phil Neville, his brother, played with Flintoff, and Flintoff said that if he hadn't done football, he could have gone the whole way. So there was, in Manchester, especially in like the early 90s, there was a bit of those gears. People like their cricket. But Jamie Carragher, someone who apparently never played before, creaming Stuart Broad through the covers in the nets. Love to see it. I also like the excuse that you haven't played cricket before. I might use that one a few more times this season. It's my first year.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played much. Honestly, I've just been saving up for the gear.
Yeah, it's like my favorite call about like golf or cricket. Oh, I could have gone pro, but it's got a bad shoulder. I haven't had one solid Enrico in my life.
Could have gone pro, but I'm shit. So. Let's talk about some actual cricket. Series win for those Aussies. Top ranked ODI team now. Pretty convincing one-day series win. The last two of those ODIs looked so good. In Mitchell Starc is now closing down on Wakar's Fifer record in ODIs, and his strike rate is far superior than any other one-day bowler. I'm going to withdraw making a comment that we've left it this far to getting into Aussie. But what did you make of it with the World Cup a matter of months away? What did you make of those boys and how they're making ODI cricket look, despite people not caring as much about it as you'd like?
We've had Ron Ball, baby. We've had baseball. Now it's time for Ron Ball. We've gone for, I think we've got like 5 all-rounders in our team. That's what I want to see in the World Cup. A very versatile team of 5 all-rounders. We've got Mitch Marsh up top. Then you got Cam Green in the middle, Glenn Maxwell, Stoinis, and Agar as well. Who else do we have? There's another all-rounder in there that I'm missing.
Zamps.
Zampa. No, he's an all-rounder.
Who have you said? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Marsh, Stoinis, Cam Green, Glenn Maxwell, Agar. That's about it. But yeah, mate, I love this all-rounder team. It's very versatile. I think Marner should probably make way for the World Cup. He wouldn't be my best 11. I'd go more all-rounder heavy. But yeah, I was saying as well, do you think that ODI cricket is probably best and sustainable only in India? Because it just looks so good, mate. I don't know how, but it looks so good.
Every sign points to it, don't they? I mean, the boundaries are so much tinier than anywhere else, so you naturally get bigger pass scores. But you have these bowling decks which are really conducive to entertaining bowling displays. That's why spinners have always done so well. That's why you get these big cult figures in the IPL. You think about Amit Mishra, a decade ago, and him just lighting up the IPL as a bowling pretty flighty leg spinners on these plus bowls. I was saying to you earlier, this afternoon, as we're recording this, Australia have just sealed the ODI series. How good did Adam Zampa and Ashton Agar look?
So good, mate.
Honestly, with a white ball on those ODI decks, what do you think's in them? What do they put in them?
I don't know, mate. They're rolling it and watering them a lot more than they did in the Test series. I'll just say that. But I do want to say, though, I think Australia, this is obviously a hot take. I've just seen Australia won today, but I think Australia are not the only, but the best team to challenge India in the World Cup. And I think we probably could go the whole way. I'll put a tenner on there. I'll tell you that much.
It's great to see Mitch Marsh scoring runs. He'd never scored consecutive half centuries in his 12 years or something of playing ODI cricket for Australia, and now he's grabbed a 60 red, 50 odd, and a 47. I saw Brad Haddin talking about like batting with him at the other end and having to run when he was running between the wickets, like another strip across, just because of how hard he hits in the V. And he times the pants off it, and good to see. Thoughts on Davey Warner back in at number 4? It's like, mate, just quit. Call it a day.
They're trying things. See, if they're not going to open, I think they will open with Head and Warner in the World Cup. But I would go, if they're going to do that, Marsh 3, Smith 4, Maxwell 5, Green 6. But if they don't, alternative is Mitch Marsh up top and have Uzi Khawaja, one of the most underrated ODI cricketers Australia's seen in a while, at number 4.
Do you reckon they'd have given that a whirl this series out though if they were gonna go for it?
I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
Really, I think he's a better ODI bat than Marnus for sure. Marnus has been very underwhelming so far. It doesn't have the gears in him that Quieter does, and that's very important ODI cricket.
Exciting stuff. That ODI World Cup set to take place, I think, late October.
October. Cannot wait for it.
Yeah. Are you going to still be in the country?
No, we'd just be home in Oz.
Gutting news to hear, but
Yeah.
no, we move on. That's probably a conversation that should be had when record is not when we're not recording. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Obviously, the Ashes is now just round the corner, mate.
Yeah, I'm edging for it.
I'm honestly, fingers are twitching. I'm outside edging right now. I think less than 3 months until that first ball is bowled. Let's get into the village moment, sir. I'm itching and twitching to see what you got for me.
Village moment of the week. So what we're going to do, I thought we're going to change up this week. We're going to try a new format. We're going to try to pick out the village things that we see in the clip before it happens. A little like a premonition of what's going to happen in this clip.
Yeah.
And then we're going to play it and have it live on our YouTube and put it on our socials. Okay. So first of all, you see this clip right now. What are you thinking looks village?
What am I thinking looks village?
It looks pretty good so far, doesn't it? Like
it's actually not looking terrible. I think there are different coloured bales to the stumps.
Yeah. That's really ticking me off.
Really village. I think those are dark bales on wooden stumps, which obviously isn't ideal, but umpire looks good floppy, and combined with the sort of track gears, keepers with long sleeves, which is always reassuring. Yes. Arm guard on the non-striker.
I picked that up. Arm guard, suspiciously high on the order for an arm guard.
Yeah, I'm not massively happy with that, especially as it looks like these are Dibblies, but a good little net behind the keeper on that sort of long on long off boundary. So maybe this side have had a few bomb hitters in their time, but nothing so far to throw me off, unlike some of the recent village moments that we had that have been pretty telling from the get-go. But show me the money.
Right, let's go, mate. So the minute long, this is a long one, but there's a lot of action to it. Let's go.
Okay.
So bowler's just fixing his field up, just about to come in.
Left arm Dibblies.
Left arm Dibblies.
This is really windy. It has to be. Oh no, he's right. Oh no, Mankad. No, he's done. Oh, it's not more than one, is it?
No.
Oh no. Oh,
the batters just had an absolute blow up there. I don't like the different color helmets either, mate. Have the one color helmet. I'm saying
red helmet is awful.
Oh, here we go. LBW.
Oh, no.
Not out.
No.
Oh no.
Trent, how have you found this?
Elbow in the throat.
This is absolutely golden. And also the keeper's
and he
had
still
a
went
shy.
for the run out.
The keeper's had a shy.
Right. The captain's come in and he's gone, no.
So for the audio listeners, I'll implore you to go, oh, there's more.
There's still more. What's going on? Oh,
he hasn't even looked. The umpire's giving it out. He hasn't even looked.
There's so much going on in that clip. Okay, let's break this down. Mankad to start.
Yeah.
Love it. Obviously love it.
Yeah, we love a Mankad. I mean, I think he's suspiciously into his action. Actually, I think he put down his delivery stride leg. Pretty awful, but hey, we love it, and as it seems, it's been given out as well. We should just say, where is this? Roxburgh Park against Moni Ponds. That
sounds made up, doesn't it? It's fictional.
Sounds pretty like Pez
Chat GPT.
Yeah, Chat GPT. But yeah, so Trent's. This is one game with 4 consecutive clips.
Imagine
saying it. So that was the Mankad was the first clip. What was the second clip?
Second clip was the
red helmet.
Oh, red helmet gets caught, and then a big blow up. So the one we saw a couple of weeks ago when he broke his bat, that kind of blow up. So
this bloke doesn't have the same sort of purchase when he slams the bat. It stays intact, and then this is amazing. This is amazing.
We've just freeze framed the keeper. He's probably like half a meter in the air. Elbow's gone out straight to the batter's throat.
So
it looks like he's done it on purpose too, I have to say. That elbow is suspiciously out.
This is awful. So this is the third clip where the batsman has completely missed it. Big LBW shout. The batsman started running down the wicket to sort of steal a leg by. He's probably not having the best day. And the keeper has come around him to try and get the ball as the batsman's down the wicket, and he just elbows him in the throat, decks him, and then goes to shy at the stumps after he's clotheslined the batsman. While all of his teammates are like, "Sorry, mate, he does this every week," making sure the batsman's all right. This is phenomenal. And then fourth clip,
the run out.
Oh gosh, awful way to conclude it, but it's poetry in motion.
Yeah.
Batsman strikes to mid-off, shies at the stumps, direct hit. Batsman looks comfortably home. The umpire doesn't even
set up
look.
Camp there, mate.
Doesn't even look, and that finger has gone up at the speed of sound.
You know what that makes me? That makes me so horny for this cricket season, mate. Just seeing just capitulation after capitulation.
30 days to go, pal. Pre-season around the corner. I am so erect. Well, enough of our dross. Let's get into some well-informed cricketing chat with a good friend of the show, Oscar Ress. It's that time where we welcome a slightly more seasoned cricketing head, someone with a little bit more going on upstairs. It's our good friend Oscar Ress, writer for Wisden, The Cricketer, and a little bit for OutsideEdge.com as well. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, well, all the better for seeing you. Women's Premier League finals around the corner. First one done and dusted nearly. What have you thought of the tournament as someone who's watched a fair amount of it?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, there was obviously no concerns that the cricket was going to be good. You know, that was always going to be the case. I think a lot of people have been asking for it for a while and wondering why it hadn't happened. But I think probably the BCCI were making sure they were 100% sure it was going to fully kick off. And it's been a fantastic celebration of women's cricket. Crowds have been good. You know, the recognizable names are doing well, which is one thing that will probably develop as the tournament goes on. But, you know, in the first edition of any tournament, you're going to expect the big internationals to do well, you know, and so that's just what's happened. But it's been really good. I've enjoyed it.
Are we going to see more teams come into the competition, do you reckon, next year?
I think so. I think it's something interesting that it happened with the SA20 as well. They came in with less teams than before. The IPL's obviously expanded and gone up and down throughout the years. These new tournaments, I think, just to make sure it doesn't get too confusing, have gone a small amount of teams. And also for the WPL, the benefit they have is for 4 of those teams, you recognise those names straight away. Those are franchise names that you've seen before and you've watched on TV with the IPL. And so it's a bit more sort of easier to follow. So I think if they do add, they'll add existing teams. So teams that don't have a WPL side will get a WPL side now that they know it's been a success and it's done well.
Good going for Alice Capsey yesterday. Bat and ball. Trent and I have spoken quite a lot on this podcast about this sort of vast parity, or whatever the word is, difference between Australia and the rest of the world. Are we going to see things leveling out a little bit more as we get more of this sort of franchise takeover of women's cricket, or do you have anything else? Any other theories?
I think that's part of the timing that the BCCI has gone for. Is one, you know, a point that's already been made by people. They've named it the Women's Premier League, not the Women's Indian Premier League, the Women's Premier League. They wanted to make sure that it was the absolute best time to put it in so they could be the best tournament. And I think they were so close to taking down Australia in that World Cup semi-final, probably way closer than anyone expected anyone to get to Australia. So they've probably picked the right moment, that this will be the first season and then there'll be some development and more domestic players will come through and and then they can take the IPL and the progress that it gives them, and then take on Australia and hopefully, because everyone's striving to be, the Australians in the women's game, because it was professionalized way earlier than everyone else. So any time that you inject a lot more money into the game like this, it's going to be a good thing. Australia's shown how good it can be.
Let's get back on these Australians because they've been absolutely carving up. Meg Lanning, leading run scorer of the tournament. Talia McGrath, second leading run scorer. Elise Perry, fourth. Elisa Healy, fifth. That makes me feel safe. How does that make you feel, Oscar, as a Pom?
There's still a long way to go is the answer to that. But yeah, no, and Sophie Devine briefly held the I think the orange cap. So there was some non-Aussie leading there. The bowlers are a bit more something I can hold on to a bit more. Yes. Sophie Eccleston is our excuse for safety. So that's been really good to see, and I think Alice Capsey as well, at 18 years old, taking apart sort of recognised international players, because I think that was the thought is her batting at 3 in the World Cup was probably a bit of a stretch for her at the time, but she's now shown in this tournament that there's a reason why they put her there, and she's brilliant, and she's going to be brilliant, and you need more of those really young players to come through that are going to take on the Aussies and also have not played cricket for years where Aussies have been beating everyone. It's still quite new, and the scars aren't there from so many defeats to Australia.
Do you see anyone beating Delhi Capitals in the final?
I don't think so, just because I think these tournaments are all about peaking at the right time. And I think the Mumbai Indians probably just peaked a bit too soon. And Delhi have just come in with all that momentum and all that progress. And also their coach, who was a geography teacher in England until very recently, he's won the 100 2 years in a row with the Oval Invincibles, Jonathan Batty. Alice Capsey's been in his team both times as well. I think they've got that winning edge and that momentum that I think whoever they face in the final, they'll beat.
One last thing before we moved on was on Deandra Dottin. Obviously, the franchise was claiming that she was unable to obtain medical clearance, and she's since come out and said that that's all a load of codswallop. Deeply disappointed. Kim Garth replaced her, and she was sort of shunned from the tournament. What are your takes and thoughts on that whole saga? Obviously, Dottin's been in the news a lot over the last couple of years with her approach to women's cricket and women's franchise cricket, international cricket. What do you make of this whole saga before we move on?
I think it's interesting. Obviously, I don't know any of the specific details. It's happened before in the men's IPL as well. They said that Tamar Mills was injured, and he said, I don't think I'm injured. But, in the IPL, the way it works, if you sign a replacement player, you can retain both. So it might be a thought that if Deandra Dottin was sort of 90% fit, you've got an Australian international fast bowler that you've been able to bring in there who's got 11 wickets in the tournament and played really well, who you can then retain both. I think the thing with Deandra Dottin, what would be really disappointing for her is she's obviously retired from international cricket in order to take on these franchise tournaments, and the biggest one she couldn't play and may have damaged relationships beyond repair, and so that next year when it comes round she also doesn't get picked because it's a bit ambiguous of why she's not playing, and then suddenly all that the retiring from international cricket seems a little bit less worth it, and I think that will be a big disappointment to her.
Let's move on to the IPL, the big boys tournament, they say. Probably the biggest tournament of the year now. Who are you liking? Who are you thinking is going to be taking home the trophy this year?
I think the most entertaining team will be the Sunrisers. I think captained by Aidan Markram. They've gone for a very different way than they've gone for the last few years. I think with Warner and then Williamson as their captain. They've stuck with the overseas captain, but Kane Williamson never felt like the best T20 player he could be. He was picked purely for leadership. Aidan Markram's won a T20 tournament. He's also one of the best T20 batters in the world. They've got Harry Brook, which is really exciting. Heinrich Klaasen, they can also choose. He was scoring runs for fun the other day. I think that's the squad, and they've still got Bhuvaneshwar Kumar with the ball. That's the team that I look at and go, I'm most excited to watch. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Gujarat Titans can defend with the way they played last year. I thought the way they played last year was interesting. It's just sort of wait till 10 overs and then just like swing as hard as we can and just get to whatever score, because we've got Rashid Khan, which lots of teams seem to be doing now with Rashid Khan, and it does work. So, whether that's the recipe for success again, I don't know. From a personal perspective, I'd love RCB to win it. I think the thing with RCB is the way they've set their team up, when almost all retained, and the players they brought in were backup and youth players to develop. And obviously they've lost Will Jacks, but he was only ever going to be a backup to Glenn Maxwell probably. This is the year to win it. Faf du Plessis has probably got, a couple more at best years in the IPL. Virat Kohli, if he has even a good season, could be the difference between last year when he couldn't buy a run and they fell just short. So I think this is the year they need to win it. Dinesh Karthik's probably not going to have many more years as well.
No.
Then there needs to be a big rebuild in the next couple of years. This is the year to win their first IPL title.
Yeah, pretty tough for you as a RCB fan hearing that Will Jacks news. But you got Michael Bracewell coming in. He can swing it around, swing it round corners. The beast, provided there's a bit of wind. Also, new sort of rule changes or announcements that that teams will be able to name their playing 11s after the toss could make for some pretty interesting logistics. But is that somewhat negated by the sort of Indian climate these are played in? Thoughts?
I think you're right. It's interesting. Although they did a similar thing in the SA20, and I think maybe it happened once or twice that someone who wasn't initially on the team sheet was then put on the team sheet. I think the more interesting thing is the impact subs and how they're used, because I think a lot of teams already know their best 11. So it's not suddenly going to change now. I think in Indian conditions, you want to be chasing, but as soon as you're not chasing, do you then go, we're going to pack the batting and go score 240? And if that doesn't come off, then you're way short with the ball. I just think it's too high risk. They'll know their 11. They'll go with it unless there's rain and you just pack batting and go, you're just going to smack it.
For the listeners who don't know, can you explain the new rule change that's been brought in this year?
Yeah, so the obviously the two rule changes are one, that you name your 11 after the toss. You don't have to provide it before the toss. So that means that you can change your team depending on what happens at the toss. The impact sub is that you can basically sub someone out pretty much whenever, but if you've already used your full quota of overseas players, you can't bring in a fifth overseas player. So a lot of this will be the domestic players that get brought in, unless you've gone 3 overseas players and then you decide that you want an extra bowler. And I think, just to bring it back to RCB, if RCB in the first game decide to go 3 overseas players and then suddenly it starts swinging around corners, you bring in Reece Topley and Josh Hazlewood, and you might just try and go, we're going to win it with the ball and don't worry about the bat. We'll have basically 2 number 11s.
Yeah, it is interesting. There's been quite a few injury setbacks approaching the IPL as well. Jasprit Bumrah's going to be out. Will Jackson said Johnny Bairstow, the news today that he's going to ease his way back into the English summer and the mauling of the Aussies.
Did you see that? Did you see that Johnny Bairstow is going to be donning the gloves again this year in the county championship?
Yeah, what does that bode for the Ashes? Well, this is tangential, but we've had our discussions. If JB is donning the gloves, then he's in that team as a back at number 5, and Folkes, he misses out, doesn't he? But that's what we called, wasn't it?
I would be disappointed if that was the case.
Well, you want Stokesy to open, don't you, Oscar?
I want Stokes to open, yes.
Really? That's a huge call. Why is that? Explain, please.
I think because the thing with Stokes is he's not a captain to make anyone else open that hasn't opened before. As in, he wouldn't say, you go do something I wouldn't do. That's his leadership style. So that's the first thing. I think he'll go, it's the hardest thing to do in England. I'll do it then. And the second thing is the way he's batting at the moment.
He's not scoring many runs.
Yeah, his value is diminishing as that type of player. And also, don't think he's going to be able to bowl much. So it's not like, oh, you're opening the batting and you're going to bat for ages so you can't bowl.
Yeah.
It's not really stopped him before. And also, he seems so injured with this knee, he might not be able to bowl anyway. So if he opens, you've added batting depth, which means you can probably have a longer tail. And I just think Ben Folkes adds value with the gloves. And I think he's a really good batter as well, and people forget that. Yes, he's not as good as Johnny Bairstow. If it's a shootout between those two, Bairstow's winning.
Yeah.
But I just think you want to make room for a specialist keeper.
I think most people would drool at the prospect of a straight swap of Crawley out, Bairstow in, and you keep Folkesy. Because, I mean, if anything, he's a pretty good-looking bloke as well to have in your roster. But, yeah, no, Oscar, that is bang on. I'm with you. Won't happen, but hey-ho. Before we do depart, though, we've got Oscar's a resident South African cricket expert, wrapped up ODI series against the West Indies, which, to be honest, has had a lot of interesting subplots, dramas going on, as in what it means for both of the cricketing nations as a whole. What were your thoughts? What did you make of it? Obviously, the ODI series finished 1-1, but there's a lot of valuable takeaways for both sides. What do you think?
I think it was a really peculiar home summer in general for South Africa. They obviously beat England, world champions, in the ODIs because it mattered a lot more to them than it did to England. The West Indies came. They learned a lot in Test cricket. They found some top order runs, brilliant. In ODI cricket, the first performance was weird. They picked not their strongest side and were on the lead up to the World Cup, a World Cup which they might not even be at if they don't beat the Netherlands and then potentially still have to qualify through the qualifiers. I think it's almost like the season is so short in South Africa. They tried to try out loads of people, almost forgetting that there's only 2 matches in the series because one was rained off. So they didn't have David Miller in the first game. They then dropped Quinton de Kock in the second game to rest him, even though he hadn't played competitive cricket since the SA20. And it was quite baffling. And I think they'd obviously want way more cricket. They want way more time to work out what their best 11 is. But I think they probably leave with a few more questions than they had answered, which is always dangerous. But I think that there's progress with the batting. The SA20 was fantastic, and there's a lot of talent. And I think if you said before the home summer, there's going to be a young batter that's going to make his debut in 2 new formats, he's going to score a decent amount of runs and look at home, you probably would have said Brevis, you would have said Ferreira, but it was Tony de Zorzi, who I really like, really impressive. But that sort of sums up the whole summer completely for them, is that maybe it was a chance to get those younger guys in, but when there's only 2 games or even a game that they'd have, And then there's a T20 series now, but there's no context to these T20 games with the World Cup so far away. It's just a completely baffling summer, all in all.
What you touched on him there. Sorry, Trent. I'll let you have your turn, mate. But when's Devil Brevis gonna get his nod? Like he's still only 19. He's still, I mean, batting beyond his years. In the SA20, he was a different creature. It looks like South Africa are making sort of things happen. There's now this new wave of batters, I should say. And then, Heinrich Klaassen the other day looks amazing, goes at nearly 200s and scores, daddy ton. When's Brevis getting the nod? Is it happening anytime soon? Because we all want to see it as worldwide cricket fans. Another peculiar notion as well, like a South African cricketer that people around the globe know, but hasn't represented his country.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the interesting. The disappointing thing is that I believe Bavuma revealed in an interview that he's been added to the T20 squad. Not captain anymore, but I assume that's just the coach when great to have you around.
Yeah.
Get yourself involved. He's still a fantastic leader. There's probably an opportunity to go, hey, just add Brevis to the squad. But this is his first season of domestic cricket in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, he played well in the SA20, but he did blow hot and cold, especially through the middle of the tournament. He sort of bookended the tournament with like stunning innings, but didn't look fantastic all the way through. He's only just started playing red ball cricket. It's got like a couple of 50s, but you sort of look at it and you go, okay, well, normally you'd say give him time, but in a couple of weeks, we're about to see him in the blue of Mumbai Indians, where he's probably smashing it all around those tiny Indian grounds. And you go, well, God, they really missed an opportunity not playing him against the West Indies in a series that doesn't matter at all. So, yes, on one hand, you go get him in when it doesn't really matter. He'll get used to it. On the other hand, it goes, well, he's got bigger fish to fry, really. And you just, maybe the best experience for him is going and smashing it in the IPL, and then he'll be international ready whenever that call does come.
Yeah, love it. I hadn't thought of it like that. Treno, have you got anything before we dip?
Yeah, I had one tangential question. I was just wondering what your opinion was for the SA20, like the investment they've had. And then South Africa, they also added 4 new players to the central contracts. Is that right for this year?
Believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, do you think that the SA20 will invest enough money for like South Africa to start reinvesting in this, like the home summers, and play more South African cricket?
I hope so. I think with the contract thing, the most exciting prospect is that they were going to do contracts that AB de Villiers was looking for a while. He wanted a contract that was just for one format or just for a white ball only. They don't do that yet. So having the financial comfort and power to be able to split that up, it's probably useful. So I hope so. It was billed as this, reigniting the Protea fire and getting South African cricket back on track. And it did. The crowds are fantastic, and they fed directly into the T20 World Cup, where South Africa made the final, and that was fantastic. But you're right, there's got to be real change and real difference off the field and the way it's being governed. So I can only hope that we don't need to be having these conversations in a few years, and hopefully there'll be a women's competition for SA20 as well next year. And then, because you can't say this is fantastic, we made the final, and then not put money into the women's competition. And so hopefully both of them go from strength to strength, and it's a real catalyst. And we look back at the summer and go, brilliant, rather than look back at it and go, well, that was almost good. Because that's what happened last time South Africa had a franchise tournament. They had that a franchise tournament where they discovered Einrich Nokia. So on the field, fantastic. Rassie van der Dussen, no one really knew about him until that tournament. And then you look at it and go, well, that lasted 2 years. really died down in the second edition. Just hope that doesn't happen again.
How much of that is actually in South African hands, though?
Oh yeah, it's all in South African hands. They've been given this lifeline by welcoming in Indian investment. That's really helped. It could be a springboard. It's just about Cricket South Africa taking this and running with it, essentially.
Do you think that we'll see the investments in the WPL like strand out into different countries as well, like the IPL has done with the SA20, the ILT20 as well, and a few other ones?
I think so. I think the Australians and the English might not welcome it. I don't think.
No, definitely not.
I think they'll actively avoid it. But everyone else, like, there's no real excuse to turn it down. You know, why would you? It's the most powerful cricketing nation in the world, offering you money just to own a team in your franchise tournament. You'll say yes to that for sure. So I assume that WPL owners will hopefully go and buy teams in the SA20 that are then the women's SA20 or whatever they decide to call it.
Exciting times, nerve-wracking times, but as always, put very eloquently by resident expert and valued guest and friend, Oscar Ress. Thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you for the kind words.
We'll check in very soon, I'm sure, as Trent and I begin to run out of things to say. Cheers, mate.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay, it's that time of the week. Now, seeing as I seem to win every week, I think that's 4 or 5 weeks on the bounce of building the best roster. Even though I was convinced that Ali Orr would have trumped me last week out with our best ways to get out, I still managed to dominate the Insta poll. So I've now hijacked the segment from Trent. I'm going to present it, introduce it, and I'm going to be the better man, the bigger man, despite all 5'1" of me. I'm going to let him go first. So this week we've gone for the most village helmets throughout history. These can be ones that look village, that have a village association with them, or ones that you just downright hate. Let us know in the comments if you've of our TikToks or whatever, wherever we share these, if we missed any out, because we've been missing some howlers in recent week, but you're still listening and still enjoying them, so can't complain. Most village helmets in cricketing history. Treno, take it away.
See, this was a little toss up, the first one. They're both. One thing I have picked up before I get away is that a lot of these village helmets are debuting in England, which says a lot about your culture.
Says a lot about our heads.
Yeah, some rough heads. I'm going to go, probably the worst one I've ever seen is the Michael Carberry 2013-2014 Ashes. Aerodynamic. What brand was it? I don't know. It was fucking disgusting. That was horrible. Had the white stripes, aerodynamic, even though you don't really need to run that fast between the crease, because
especially if you're Michael Carberry.
Yeah, why are you trying to make aerodynamic when you got fucking pads and gloves and like a chest guard on?
And I think they got banned, those ones, because they like exploded on impact. That's really annoying that I've been the bigger man, because that helmet wins you this draft. I think that helmet dominates. It was my first pick as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible eyesore. And rightly so, that Adidas never made a helmet like that ever again.
Okay, well, before we get into the other picks, I just got to say that I've had a few relationship quarrels because of my recent draft form. I think my lovely partner of 7 years is falling out of love with me once again. So please vote for me. Yeah,
that's pretty tough to hear, but I don't have one shred of empathy or forgiveness for you, because I'm a gun. My first pick, though you have taken the cream of the crop, I'm going to go for the sort of 2010 to 13 era GM. It was very upright, very square, very boxy. Had the little slits in it. I associate it with Graham Swan. I think it looked so grim, and it was actually the first helmet that I got, because I love.
Says a lot.
I loved Graham Swan growing up. Big regrets considering the bloke has the sun as a sticker, a sponsor sticker on his bat. So any bloke who has that and then the lid on top, just cream of the crop. So yeah, early sort of tens GM, get it out of my sight.
Yeah, it says a lot, mate. My second pick, this is a really good pick, by the way. I'm surprised it didn't go up top. Was the current Kookaburra lid with the green sides, the green earpieces.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. Matt Short has been wearing it through the BBL, and a few others have been wearing it as well. It is disgusting. I don't want it anywhere near me. Anything with abnormal or discolored earpieces, I cannot get around.
I think with the Kookaburra one, it's like they're borderline luminous as well.
Yes, and they got the they have like a grey grill. It's like a metallic sort of grey, like spray painted on. That doesn't look natural. I don't know. It just irks me. Like it's almost white sort of grill. Yeah,
it looks like it could sort of peel off if you.
Yeah. Hit once and it starts chipping off.
Yeah. I can get behind that. I can get behind that a lot.
The structure to it too is too overly.
Yeah, my one's very similar in shape to this one. It's the sort of a few years back grey nickels. Now, grey nickels look very gun in a lot of things. Gloves,
yes,
bats, pads as well. Look really pristine, well looked after. Their helmets are just too long. It's like they're trying to make a helmet for a horse. Like the grills just go down to like here. It's like I do not have Alistair Cook's jawline. Maybe that was why they were designed that way. They were making them exclusively for Cookie. But the grill is just absolutely massive. And if you're running between the wickets, it's going to be tickling your nipple. So not for me. That's my second pick, but I think you've taken a good start to this draft here.
What year group are you going? Because I actually think the current grey nickels are kind of hot.
Current grey nickels is fine because it's compressed it a little bit.
Yeah. Would you say that's the third best helmet on the market? The current grey nickels?
What, behind Missouri and Shrey?
100%. Yeah, that's sort of up top.
The industry standards. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
that's a good call. What era are you looking at there? Because I've got a certain era that I don't want to overlap.
I probably can put a finger on the I think it's probably maybe 2014-ish.
Yes, it was 20. Yep, you got me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, David Warner had that. It was fucking disgusting.
It's so long.
Also had orange earpieces.
Oh yeah, get it out of my sight.
My last pick is looking at the bloke who's just had 3 ducks in a row, 3 globes in a row.
How did we not mention it?
Yadav.
Sky.
Mate, your former lid, the former lid is my third pick. It is disgusting. I think it's made in the same factory as Kookaburra because it has the exact same shape, different earpieces. That's why it's my third pick compared to Kookaburra because it's got like a grey sort of black earpiece. But the shape of it is just disgusting. Get it out of my sight. Why is it it's so curved around the grill?
Yeah.
No, I can't get around it.
Again, it's just too much space going on. There's too much there. Former as well. Never heard of it. Don't ever want to hear it again.
Never heard of it. Can we get into that triple globe? It's like just a really quickly.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking, what does he have to do if we're talking like club cricket stuff? You get 3 globes in a row. What gears do you need to bring to the team to not get dropped the next week?
You have to have an almighty performance in the bar that night.
I think it was like penis.
That's in the same conversation, in the same breath. But
yes,
you have to be providing a lot more than just your runs. That's why I play every week, because I offer some sort of comedic relief as a sort of laugh at me sort of court jester vibe going on. I could like not score runs all year and Aussie will still have me around. But yeah, if you're him right now, what a turnaround from being the most destructive like white ball batsman in the world. Yes, he's only really done it in T20s. To go from a gazillion runs in 2022 to like 3 big uns, 3
and not hitting a single ball for 3 matches in a row.
Yeah, Starkey's made him look quite silly there, hasn't he?
Yeah, we heard it first, Sky. You got to become the team wallet.
Yeah,
and start shedding a few beers, a few pig's ears.
Team wallet and shower well, sir.
A few Michael beers.
My final pick. I'm unsure what you're going to make of this. It's very broad, very Stuart. 19 80s when helmets were just born and we had no grills, and they were just a really weird sort of fruit bowl on top of your head with some sort of semblance that this is like a bicycle helmet and it might protect me if I have a light fall. But if you, God forbid, you bowl it anywhere near my choppers, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. Gatting Gooch boycott era, like just tops.
Yeah, the muffin chop ones.
Something's so wrong about it. And I know it's an era. And obviously, if we looked at it then, it probably wouldn't have been as weird. But can you think of any, like, it's like if a bowler wore shorts nowadays.
But you got to think it like, I was going to put that in my list, but you got to think like that was revolutionary for that era.
I know.
But that's where you're going to come undone. But it is fucking vile.
I'll tell you why.
No, I do accept it because they had people with a muffin chop ones while they had the grills. So people chose those ones. That's where you're allowed. I'll allow it. Yeah.
And also, I think if we look at it now, this is something the listeners should keep an eye out this season. If you see anyone, it's going to have to be someone who's pretty old, a bit of a dinosaur in the club. If you're going to see anyone this season wearing one of those 30-year-old lids, please, I want to see it because I'm convinced someone will do it this year.
Yes.
And it's got to be documented. I want to see these old mutton chop lids in action. Yeah. And if you've got one knocking around, send us a picture because I kind of want to go out and wear one. Though.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to see like if someone in your team has one of the village like lids that we've named, please send it in because they're horrible.
Yeah,
I want to roast the shit out of that.
Yeah, and if you do see it,
and film a net of them so we can roast them on the pod because I would have a lot to say.
Right, those are our drafts. I enjoyed that one. Get over to the socials, vote on who's win. Give Treno a consolation win because oh my god, I cannot deal with him crying about this any longer. Let's wrap it up. Short and sweet. Enjoyed that. Good to get Oscar on. Good to talk all things cricket once more. And get in touch with us about your clubs. We want to have a little sort of 15-minute chinwag each week with a smattering of UK clubbies. Tell us your stories, shop window your club, and get around it. April's around the corner, boys.
Get around us, and we will in turn get around you.
Laters.
Bye.